Well, good night, good night, good night to you. We're on again for another episode of Advancing the Cause. And we've got lots and lots of things happening in and around this country. But tonight we're going to focus primarily on what is happening here in Guyana, right home. But let me say good night to all those who are watching us tonight. And if you've not yet tuned on because we're a bit late this evening, just call up your friends, call up your cousins, your neighbors, and everybody else and tell them Advancing the Cause is on. Before we go into tonight's activity, or our discussion for tonight, I want to share with you that the party is mourning a loss at this time. We mourn the loss of our dear comrade from Bartica, Comrade Lane. It's unfortunate that we have to be faced with this at this time, but this is one of the realities of life. This is a fact that death will come. The problem that we have is that we can't get accustomed to death and we don't know when it would come. But at this time, we would want to extend our sincerest condolences to the family, her immediate family, that is, and we would want you to know that our prayers and our thoughts are with you. I know we saw her up to Saturday last, and to have received that message just about 2 days ago, it was really, really shocking to all of us. And to all those who are mourning the loss of their loved ones at this time, we extend to you too our condolences. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Some good news now. We know quite a lot of folks would have celebrated their birthdays this week. We had 111, we have 94, we've got 87, we have 21, we have 2 years old. Happy birthday to all of you. I trust that God is going to continue to bless you and to give you the strength and the wisdom you need to continue living this life. And even as you go into this new chapter, that there are going to be so many, 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 many successes coming your way. But what's on for this evening? Oh my God, I just did what one of my good friends would do. I hope that the critics is not watching me. So our topic for tonight says local government elections and you. Local government elections and you. But quickly for our highlights, we saw earlier today a man escapes from the High Court by jumping the balcony. I don't know what man escaping from court by jumping, and you notice the footage is being shown there. I know that quite a few persons are going to be pulled over the coals. This should not happen. I note, let me note too, that we have had persons going to court for simple, simple, simple things, and they have been shackled. One wonders why this young man was not shackled. So many questions are there to be answered. And so that young man bolted from the scenes there. I don't know where he's off to, but I'm hoping that they'll be able to recapture him. And then we saw just this week the same people who claim to love you, the same people who claim to care, the same people who were all about the people of Guyana. We saw them removing the vendors from there. They're claiming from the entrance of the national stadium. But we've passed there several times. And I know those persons are not at the entrance. They're on the two sides of. And if you're going to move vendors, you are talking about people's livelihood. And if you have intentions of moving them, then you should create a parallel space for them to go and operate. You don't just move people off without indicating to them and saying to them, we have somewhere else for you to go. This is so, so sad. And yes, again, these are the people who claim that they love the Guyanese people and they're friends with Guyanese people, but yet you are taking away people's livelihood. And I think this government, they grade themselves in taking away people's livelihood, because we've seen how many public servants were dismissed. As a matter of fact, just the other day, I saw about 3 young men who said to me that their services have been rendered null and void and not required anymore. And this just came blam, without even giving them a warning. They turn up to work and then they receive the letter saying their services are no longer required. Now, how do you expect these people to feel? Now, you have not said to them, hey, we're going to be looking at a severance package for you or something like that. I'm hoping that the officials from the Ministry of Labor that they're listening, and they're going to take action to offer some sort of representation for those workers. I'm hoping that the folks from the GPSU are listening too, and that you can represent to the fullest your members. And then we have the tangled web. And more webs are in this big web. And we're talking here about the murder of Mr. Kerwin Mars. So many other things are coming up at this time, so many other things. And so I would want to ask the Guyana Police Force that you do what you're supposed to do, that you go out there and you be effective and efficient in terms of your information collecting. I don't know in which country, if you have an investigation being conducted, that you're going to see on social media a live interview. I don't understand this. Is it that you want Facebook to be the judge and the jury and everything? That's what you want. That's why that interview was placed there on social media. I find it to be very disgusting and very unprofessional. Guyana Police Force, you need to pull yourselves together, because I'm sure the news agency that published that, they could have only gotten it from you. And so it leaves one to wonder, or many to wonder, whether there's something there that somebody is cooking up. But I'm not going to go more into that, but just to say that this web seems to be having many more webs in it. And we would want to see the Guyana Police Force work and bring to justice the person who killed Kerwin Mars. Because as an educator, as a comedian, as a friend, as a community worker, he did not deserve to die that way, regardless of what the circumstances that would have led to that. It also means that as a people, we have got to come out and condemn some of these. It is also saying that the Ministry of Social Protection, that you got quite a lot of work to do. You have not been doing a whole lot, and so I'm saying you have quite a lot of work to do. Many persons in our society are troubled, and you need to fix that. You need to fix that. And then we saw here a little more exciting news. Annette Ferguson wins again. Mm-hmm. And so Annette is here this time. The judge has ruled in the libel case against Joseph Hamilton, the Minister of Labor, and he would have awarded MP Annette Ferguson $6 million. I'm hoping that I'm not going to hear, oh, they are appealing, because they love to appeal, and they've been appealing all these cases that Annette is winning. She got $20 million from Jack Dio and court costs and all kind of thing. And every time they're appealing, just appealing and appealing, that was thrown out. But I'm hoping that Joe would find these monies to give them to Annette very quickly. Joe, you've been doing quite a lot of things. Give Annette the $6 million. Don't go around and come around, because you're not going to get anywhere. And then we saw the case against former Minister of Finance, Mr. Jordan. That case was dismissed by Magistrate Daly after the attorney submitted a no case submission. And so that case was thrown out, and Mr. Jordan was here vindicated. And we know how the PPP operate. We know how they operate. They're always vindictive. They're always looking to get at somebody, and they're always trying to silence people. But you know what? You can't keep a good man down. Let me say that. Further in our highlights for this evening, we saw the Marriott Hotel. The Marriott Hotel bids at $86.1 million US, and then we saw today $90 million US, and we heard that the bids have been closed today. So we're waiting to see who gets that hotel there, and it leaves one again to wonder. If it's the organization, the hotel, as a matter of fact, is profitable, why would you want to sell it if it's profitable? And this is what we have every time the PPP come around. We have these things. I'm hoping that some of the monies that they're going to get from the sale of the Marriott Hotel, that some will be plunged into the National Insurance Scheme, where you borrow the monies from there to get the Berbice Bridge, and you have not yet been able to repay that. So I'm hoping that some of this $90 million would go back to NIS, and that our folks, our citizens who are paying their contributions, that they are going to be able to receive their benefits. And then we continue with accidents, and many more accidents. Folks, look, let's just be careful with what we do, and let's be careful on the road. We saw fire service staff. What's her name? I can't remember what's her name, but we saw a fire policewoman. She was placed on $400,000 bail for a fatal accident. This is a toddler who died in this accident, and then we saw another accident there on the west bank of Demerara, one on the somewhere by Camp Street, somewhere there. Look, we need to be very, very careful with how we use our roads. Pedestrians, you need to be extremely careful with the use of the road. I've seen on the roads persons, the light is saying green, and persons are just walking across the pedestrian crossing. If you have to cross the road, ensure that where you're crossing, the light is saying red there, and you're using a pedestrian crossing. Don't wait for the light to say green and tell yourself that you have a right to go across the road when vehicles are moving, and vehicles have to stop and wait on you. So Guyana Police Force, again, you in the limelight here, you've got quite a lot more work to do. Send your folks out there and get them to man some of what is happening there. I remember there was this police officer, I can't remember his name, but we had this police officer who used to be right by the courts there, between Crowell Street and Brick Dam, and he always stood there, and he would turn you back if you didn't walk, if you weren't using the pedestrian crossing. He would just turn you back and tell you, use the pedestrian crossing, use the pedestrian crossing. Wait, vehicles are coming now. So Guyana Police Force, send some of your folks out there so that they can they'll be able at that Regent and Camp Street junction there. You always have a whole lot of people crossing the road when they're not supposed to be crossing the road, and in other places. So send your guys out there and get them to man what is happening in terms of not only vehicular movements, but in terms of what our pedestrians do. And then outside of Guyana, well, one more in Guyana, we saw a 59-year-old Golden Grove handyman being jailed for stealing from a businesswoman. This is another area that we've got to be very careful with. We've seen lots and lots of break and enter being committed on the homes of persons across this country. And so, folks, it means that as a community, we have to keep looking out for our folks. And then we're going to talk about two other characters a little later, but we have in the Caribbean and outside of the Caribbean, we saw today allegations of mathematics paper 2 being leaked in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I am not sure about all the circumstances surrounding that, but we've seen that happening. I hope that they can investigate and that there is going to be corrected. I know for sure if that is true, then the entire paper is going to be reset for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, not the entire Caribbean. And then we saw a Canadian woman who was found dead after visiting her husband in Jamaica. So we've got these things happening. But tonight, we really want to talk about local government elections and you and me and us. What does this mean to us, local government elections? And to share with us this evening, we have a young man who has been very, very active in this whole business of local government and community development and people's development and all the developments you can think about. And he is one of the candidates who would be up at the local government elections. We have with us this evening Mr. Philip Drayton. Welcome to you, sir, and it's good to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Advancing the cause. Now, I've seen you in operations a couple of times, and I really admire the way you operate. And so now that you have thrown your hat into this pool for local government, could you tell us which constituency you're going to be running for, and what do you want to see happen there, and what is happening there?
All right, definitely. So once again, my name is Philip Drayton for members who are viewing presently, and I am the first past the post candidate for constituency 1, which encompasses Tiger Bay, Kingston, Nunpearl Park, Thomasland, Queenstown, and Albertown. Each constituency, in my humble opinion, is unique in its own way. Mm-hmm. Right, and so it's constituency 1, and when I, of course, do house-to-house visit to find out exactly what are the needs of the people, right? There are two fundamental concepts that governs the local government system, And one, of course, enable us to embrace democratic local decision making. And the other is simply just to promote environmental, economic, and social well-being of that particular community. But to my surprise, when we go house to house, the members of society needs kind of shifted. I don't want to say shifted. Maybe it's directed in some other dimension because they're more concerned not so much about drainage and irrigations, etc. They want to know exactly how they could be a part of economic development that is happening within the country. A lot of persons are trying to find out what we can do for them for jobs, etc. So right during then, when we do an assessment, we recognize that hey, what a lot of human capacity development needs to happen within constituency one. Of course, it must happen simultaneously with economic development too as well. So that is something that we're looking at to see how best we can use the local government system to ensure that works.
Good. So this is a very, very wide constituency,
Definitely.
and it means that Philip Drayton alone would not be able to do this. And I'm sure you have a team that's working with you. But while people talk about drainage and irrigation and ensuring that your community or your constituency, let me say that, is clean and tidy, this can on people can only be comfortable if they have jobs, and I don't blame them for talking about jobs. And one of the things we've seen is that quite a lot of the people in the Tiger Bay, especially Kingston area, the other areas, but people in those areas particularly, you would find them by the streetcar in alignment because they don't have jobs. And if they catch a little thing somewhere around the corner, it's just a little bread, as they would say, to last them for a day or two. And of course, they should be interested in job, in employment, because we have been dubbed the fastest moving economy or whatever it is I hear them talk about, which, there's a whole lot of dreams. But we have an oil economy, an oil sector that is blooming. And so while we might not have the skilled people, we got people who can provide other services. And so why not? Why not? Why not? Why not jobs for us? Even if we can't find jobs in the oil sector, I'm sure that there are other areas that we can find jobs in. And so coming on to being part of the local government elections, how do you see yourself fitting in there to help the people in your constituency?
I've been doing substantial amount of groundwork for many years now with my other job because I'm a drug treatment specialist. I do interventions, I create safe spaces, etc.
Okay.
For various places, many regions too as well, just to see how best we can help persons to be responsible, productive, and reliable members of society. Right? So to actually go within these particular communities, we know exactly what is required. I mean, in Tiger Bay presently, because that is where I'm from, right? The roads are a part of the road is well done, but that does not impact the quality of the lives of the persons living within Tiger Bay. So more is needed, and regardless of how beautiful we try to make external concepts of our community look and feel, right? If by chance the basic survival requirements is not taken care of a particular family, whether it be single or extended, I mean, persons will not pay vivid attention or even be a part of the developmental process. So I think we have a government presently which actually miss the nucleus concept of what true development really means. And this is something that we really need to take a look at because it's affecting members, and I'm certain not just in constituency one, but throughout Guyana. So the first thing that is really a requirement is that a lot of members need to have the opportunity to simply not just develop, but also strengthening their skills, their abilities, resources, instincts. And these are type of things that we're talking about so that they could actually grow simultaneously with the economic development that is happening around them. This is something that has been missing, and this is what is required on a local community level to see real change and growth.
So tell me, what are some of the things that you plan to do if you were to be elected?
Great. So Tiger Bay is one aspect within a community. What's happening within Queenstown and Alberton area varies too as well. There's a lot of entrepreneurship that is happening there, a lot of businesses within the Queenstown area too as well. So there is a way where we could consider, we can have that cohesion or relationship between the various communities within the constituencies, so that we can promote not simply just entertainment like sports, etc., but entrepreneurships will have an opportunity. Persons will have that particular brace, quote unquote, if I can put it that way, so that they can be a part of and be represented too as well. So we're trying to see how best we can touch base with various business and businessmen and women within our constituency to see how best they can keep certain programs, keep certain training, and even provide that role of employment if necessary, to see how best we could collectively strive together as constituency one in the process of development for both persons in various communities. So that is something that we're really taking a look at. There are a lot of talents that is happening within not just Tiger Bay too as well and Kingston, even in the Albertown and Queenston community as well. So we're just trying to tap into all sectors within constituency one to see how best we can collectively embrace what it really means to be one people, one nation, and one destiny. And this is something that only can begin to happen from the local level. And this is the direction in which we want to go.
All right. I heard you said something very interesting just now, that you work with the drug rehab,
Okay,
you
so I
kind
am
of
a drug treatment specialist.
drug
Really.
treatment specialist. Good.
Yes.
So I know that we would have had issues in the Tiger Bay area, in Albertown area, even in the Queenstown area, and Kingston with persons, with addicts.
Mm.
As a candidate, what are your plans in terms of helping those persons? I know you said you've been helping people, but what are your plans to help directly those people within your
So
constituency?
we actually need to start dealing with it from a more fundamental basis. I mean, there's a lot of youths present within the whole entire constituency who are probably using more than mind altering substances. For the younger folks, what we need to do is simply see how best we can groom them in a particular sense. The younger folks don't really need rigorous interventions. We need to groom them and let them know that, hey, there's another way that you can actually handle life and lifetime situations, because within our constituency, persons consumes for two reasons: one, for experimentation purposes, and
Mhm.
two, for as a coping mechanism. And because external situations are not what persons may want it to be, is why they would engage in a lot of consumptions of more than mind altering substances. So creating that safe space first for young members of society within our constituency is mandatory. And then we need to see how best we can set up certain social safe spaces. So if by chance there is an issue with substance use or misuse, they're being channeled in the right direction so that they can have some type of intervention being done professionally. I should implement that, because a lot of persons would simply just give their own thoughts and suggestions that may not be the clinical approach towards dealing with substance use and misuse that we've been seeing happening over the past years.
Well, I'm happy that you're saying this to us, and I'm sure that on your campaign, these are some of the issues that you're highlighting while you're going out there on your campaign. But it's more than that. I feel it's more than just going out there and telling people, well, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. Um, I know that you've outlined some of the things that you're going to do, but what do you think the people should know in terms of why local government elections should be important to them, and what you expect them to do apart from just going out there and vote? Why is local government elections important?
Local government elections is very simple. A local leader is being elected by local persons within a community to handle local situations. I don't think it gets more local than that.
Well, I like how you put that.
It doesn't get more local than that, right? However, we need persons who are leaders, and this is not simply just for talking aspects. We need persons who have been doing what is necessary and have the holistic constituency at
Mhm,
heart.
mhm.
This is a fundamental requirement. Someone that, of course, practice honesty, is open-minded, it is willing. A person who is assertive and can listen to as well. That's mandatory basic concepts, right? But moving forward, as it relates to that, is that members of society needs to recognize that if by chance any type of not change but transformation needs to happen from the community level, it can start from the local government perspective. This is something that they need to understand, that when you come out on June 12th, is actually to exercise a democratic right to actually implement or choose a leader that basic situations and circumstances that is happening within the community, you are confident that they will be addressed. You're confident that you will get a listening ear to ensure that being dealt with at some level.
So we're saying here, it's green all the way
All the way.
because you are representing the APNU, and you're saying, well, not what you're saying, but this is a man from the ground. This is not somebody who we're importing here to come to tell the people. This is a local man, and this local man understands that we got to clean the drains. The drains got to be properly dealt with so that we're not going to have flooding. He understands that we got drug addicts, we got students and young men and women who might want to experiment because they see adults doing it. And so we have somebody here who is not just somebody coming out to run for an office, but a well-rounded individual who can offer that kind of guidance to the folks there. In especially, I like the Tiger Bay area. But I noticed persons have been saying, well, local government elections, well, wherever it is, man, me already got time with them. How do you whip up the interest of the people in Tiger Bay, especially, and in other areas? I want to say, let me say this first. I noticed we've been beautifying Main Street, which is all part of. But what happens in the little streets there? Because I know we have residents who live in the streets there. Why can't we go in there and beautify? So what are your plans in terms of beautification for Tiger Bay of itself and not just Main Street?
Oh, first, the beautification concept for members within Tiger Bay, because that is where I born and grow. It must happen within the household first. That is how we see it, right? Real impact and transformation needs to happen with the normal levity of persons within Tiger Bay, right? So a lot of things have happened over the years, a lot of promises being made, by the People Progressive Party over substantial amount of decades. And we've seen everything where they would simply just come, persons would come and on Christmas and share kites on Easter too as well, and these kinds of stuff. But it doesn't impact us, and it doesn't take persons out of poverty. So the beautification concepts within Tiger Bay first happens within the household, so that there's some type of equilibrium that is happening amongst family members, so that they can stay or become responsible, productive, and reliable members of society. When that is completed, then we will look at the external aspects that is happening within Tiger Bay too as well. So there's a lot of buildings, etc., within the Tiger Bay community, that there's certain special attention needs to be given to it, right? And if by chance funding doesn't come from where it is supposed to come presently, where we've been neglected over substantial amount of years, I mean, there are certain innovative concepts and ideas that we, as members of Tiger Bay, can implement, rather it be from a fundraising concepts, rather it can be from an entertainment perspective or hosting some event, etc., where all those finances go towards a particular development project. And this is the fundamental approach towards dealing with certain situations as it relates to beautifications of our community externally.
Good. So we have that aspect, but there's another aspect that we need to look at. And I know you did talk about it previously at another forum, but in terms of our children's education, what plans do you have if you're elected to be the candidate for, or the counselor for that constituency? What are some of the plans that you have to deal with our children in that area not attending school regularly, some not going to school, and those who are at school? How do you plan? What systems you have in place to sustain them?
Great. So a while back, I think it's in 2018 or 19, I actually had the privilege to be a part of Ministry of Education when we were looking at the educational sector plan for a community, not just Tiger Bay or Kingston, but holistically within constituency one. What is the fundamental thing I think is missing within our educational curriculum is how to teach persons to cope with certain external situations when they're faced with. I think this is a primary issue that we have within constituency one, and maybe in a wider perspective, where a lot of persons don't know how to handle life on life terms. And I've seen a lot of my friends and families too as well within Tiger Bay and Kingston too as well come under certain real insidious pressure, and they
Mhm.
crumble.
Mhm.
So our approach to the first aspect of education is to see how best we can implement, or if not implement, introduce, certain aspects within our younger youths within the in my constituency, to see how best they can be equipped with the appropriate coping life and refusal skills, simply just to handle certain external situations. But persons who are already within, probably in grade 1 and 2 and primary 4 and these kinds of stuff, what we need to do is set up a structure within Tigeway, which we already have in progress presently, where we could have a community action plan as it relates to the young persons that are present there. And this too as well comes with capacity building, which is one of our primary foundation, where certain external courses, and I'm talking about stuff to do that is going to be beneficial as it relates to development of our country, rather be in the field of infrastructure, rather going to be the field of tailoring, it's going to be in the field of beautician, because that is something that is trending presently. We want to
Mhm.
keep the
Mhm.
young persons occupied and engaged in what is modern in society too as well, to see how by chance certain courses can be available to them, so that they can be equipped with the appropriate tools that's necessary, so that it can help them to elevate in the standard of living presently.
Well, I noticed that you have a very packed agenda,
Yes.
and you talk about the substance abuse, which would come under the broad caption there of health.
Mhm.
You talked about education, you talked about employment, and so on. But we still have this whole issue of community involvement, of unity, and then there's a bigger issue that we have of trust,
Mhm.
where persons feel that, hey, I don't have time with this anymore because these people, I don't trust them. How do you plan to regain the trust of the people in Tiger Bay? I know that you're from that
Mhm.
area, and you're widely known, but there are still persons who don't believe that, I should throw my lot here again. How do you convince those people to throw their lot behind you, to put the X next to your name, because this is the man who's going to deliver us?
Before that happens, what I did, and I'll be rigorously honest, is ensure I go house to house, because what I have in my mind may be different from what is happening on the field and what our persons needs. So what I did is ensure I go house to house, find out exactly what are some of the situations and circumstances that are faced with persons within that community. Trust me, I went in some of the darkest holes. You feel me? And what I did is sit down and find a common objective of how collectively, based on the situations and circumstances that were revealed, right? How best we could come up with some type of common concept, so that we could start the nucleus of development. And I think this has worked well. Why? Because a man may be hesitant to throw his hat in the ring and say, hey, I am for this. But part of the action plan, part of the initiative encompasses him. So because of such, he may no longer be hesitant, and he will definitely say, here what I feel a part of, and for that reason, I will give it my best shot. Rather you do it confidentially if you want to be anonymous, if by chance you want to be a part of a gathering. He is a part of the developmental process from the nuclear stage. And this is exactly what was my objective from first. And I think it's working effectively.
Good. So, but tell me now, what would have caused you to throw your hat in there? I know you're from that area. The constituency is a wide one. You've walked around there. But what really would have caused you to throw your hat in at this time? Since we recognize that the PPP government, they're not about local democracy. And we recognize on a larger scale, especially Georgetown, they have decided that by all cost, they're going to stifle the city of Georgetown.
Mhm.
Um, we've seen garbage collection, garbage piling up. The collectors don't come to pick up the garbage. We've seen buildings deteriorating, nothing happening. We've seen city council workers not being paid. Having seen all of this, what still motivated you to want to throw your hat in?
Those same situations and circumstances that you described is
Mhm.
a part of the reason why I say, hey, what I think I I can represent members within my constituency well. And I want to do this because I too am feeling the squeeze as a young member within society. I'm not excluded, and I'm vivid. I've known exactly what this particular administration is doing, the manipulative concept that the PPP embrace, right? And the persons are feeling it within society, including me, right? As a young businessman and entrepreneur, there are certain limits, and that is simply because the government presently is unconscious of what is required or what is needed from most members of society. So, because of such, why not try to see how best I can be and stand on a platform where the proper representation of the people can be taken into considerations, and we try to see how best we can meet their needs by any means necessary.
But Philip, I hear you. But do you think that this government is unconscious of the people's needs? You think
Um,
so?
all right. So there was always a saying, right? And there's a dilemma with the People Progressive Party. What they have as considered as perceived strength is also what, in my humble opinion, and I think thousands of Guyanese can actually adhere to this, is their weakness too as well. I've always heard that the PPP takes care of persons that are loyal to them, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that too is the greatest downfall, because perhaps maybe it's true, because when they're in power, when they came to power, right? What you find happening is that they take care of only their family, friends, and loved ones, and the rest of members of society is left out in the cold. So because of such, they don't have what is considered as a genesis concept to actually look at what is development for the people. I think they are conscious, yes, about the needs of persons, and they are going about a manipulative way to see how best they can gather something from members of society at the appropriate time. And this whole local government elections from nomination day, we've been seeing the manipulative concept and approach that the People Progressive Party has been implementing and playing on the hearts and minds of members of society. So it is something that is vivid. Persons simply just need to look, and I want members of society to be assured that we know exactly the tricks in the book that the People Progressive Party is trying to implement, right? But we are for the people. I am proud to be a part of the team to do what is necessary for members of society holistically, wholeheartedly too as well, and we will come out successful.
Good. I like your spirit. I really, really like this. And the fact that, hey, we've been talking about changes and we want to see changes. We want to see new faces. We want to see younger people. Here it is. We have a young man who's willing to put himself through that kind of stress. But we know that this isn't going to last for long because the writing is on the wall and the people are saying just how they feel. As a matter of fact, let me throw this one in. I just saw on the Ghana Teachers Union Facebook page the president of the union issuing a statement talking about how disappointed teachers are and how disrespected teachers feel because today there was supposed to have been a meeting between the GTU and the government of Guyana, and this is all in with regards to the multi-year proposal that the Ghana Teachers Union would have submitted. And just today, when we were supposed to have that meeting, the a call was made, and we were told that the lead minister is not available, so that meeting could not have happened. And so people understand the tricks of the trade. And one of the things I want to say is that teachers are educators. Teachers are not mentally lazy, and they don't go along with what Jack Dio says or what Priya Manik Chan says or somebody else, whatever they are saying. Teachers understand how to read in between the lines. And so the teachers are reading in between the lines. But you know what? I'll tell you what. We have seen Georgetown in a state over the last couple of months. But by the end of coming down to the end of this month, somewhere along the line of leading up to May 12th, I'm sure we are going to see lots and lots of things happening in Georgetown, across this country, especially in areas where the APNU dominate and they've been starved. We're going to see lots more things happening there. But I want to say to our people, and this is what I expect you should be saying to your people: When they come with the goodies, take them,
Of course.
because it's our monies they're bringing back to us anyhow. So folks, just take the monies when they're coming to you. When they bring the bags, the hampers, and so on, just collect them. Um, be mindful of the red t-shirts that they give you to put on. I know that we've seen on nomination day lots and lots of red, as if it was the return of the Red Sea. Your thoughts on that?
That is definitely a manipulative approach, right? I would urge members, because that's what I've been doing within my community. Um, if they come with the goodies, take it. That is not the issue. It's your money. Unfortunately, it's not what you deserve, but it's your money. But when it comes to that red T-shirt, I have an issue with it if you put it on for 10,000 or 5,000 or these kinds of stuff. Here why? Because apart from myself, there are a lot of leaders within my constituency. And if by chance certain situations and circumstances you're faced with, and an opportunity come where they pay substantial amount of finances to you to put on a jersey, you might say, here what, I can put it on, I'll take these finances, but when I go into a voting booth, I know exactly what I have to do. Yes, that is for you. But the amount of minds you may already influence by putting that red jersey on is where the damage is being done. So we need to be conscious and cognizant about our approach towards the situations. We need to recognize and understand that handouts cannot take persons out of poverty. And if by chance this is a manipulative act being implemented by the government, it is simply just to cause separations amongst friends and families within various communities, because that is what has been happening since nomination day. So we need to be extremely careful, because what the government has done is wage war against poor people instead of poverty by implementing these manipulative behavior practices to see how best they can influence the will of the people, which you don't have in the first place. Because if you had the will of the people, it simply means you've been doing the groundwork, you've met members within the communities, you know exactly what is a requirement. But that has not been happening. So we know.
Well, I heard you talk about the $10,000 and how much that, and putting on that red T-shirt, and how it can influence others to maybe want to put on the red T-shirt, or want to go to put their X next to that red, or the cup, or whatever is there. The fact is, people should understand that the PPP government, they are very distasteful, disrespectful, and a government that doesn't care. Because if you care about your people, you wouldn't want to wait for nominations day to give them $10,000 if you care about your people. If you care about your people, then you wouldn't force them to put on a red T-shirt. And we all know the story where, especially those $40,000 a month contract workers who were threatened that they had to put on the T-shirt. Any caring government, any government that is worth their salt and know that they have been doing for the people, you wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to intimidate people. You wouldn't want to force people to do things that they don't want to do. And that's the game the PPP have been playing. And it's not a game now. It's a game that they've been playing ever since. But I just want us to return to the issue of the GTU business. This whole thing about teachers. Teachers are an important sector, or teaching or education is an important sector in any community, regardless of how much you have in terms of wealth. If your people are not educated, then they can't enjoy the wealth. And we have seen this government downplaying education. Um, you see them gloating when you have the CXC passes, but outside of that, you don't see anything else. As a matter of fact, you don't even see them recognizing the people who would have caused that to have happened. What are your thoughts on this? And I know this is all part of your whole business of campaigning for this local government elections.
It's very simple. We don't have a government which is conscious of what nucleus development is. Because if by chance we were paying attention to teachers and recognize how significant it is, to have members of society who's willing to, of course, pass knowledge on to youths in society, then we won't have a problem where capacity building as it relates to persons being equipped to actually grow simultaneously with economic development. If by chance this has been addressed, You won't find there's a government now who wants to bring in workers, import workers, externally, when you have members of society here. You have the persons that is required and is necessary to ensure that some type of development is being done from an educational perspective. So definitely they are a party which is simply just what is considered as single-minded, persons who are considered as self-centered, and we need to get them out. Let me choose my words carefully, because persons persons who say they're emotionally distressed now,
And they
right?
feel
When the
threatened.
time has come, we as members of society need to recognize and understand where true transformation lies, not change, not where we kick off slippers and put on boots, but where nothing of the old remains, only the AP and you moving forward. So, with that being said, we have a government, of course, is turning a blind eye as the significance of education here in this country. I think it's a form of disrespect to members within the educational fraternity, and it is something that is definitely needs to take a look at in all sectors.
What I can tell you though is that what we've seen in the education sector, we've seen a downward spiral.
In what
We,
sense?
it's spiraling downward. The fact is, while we gloat about 21, 27 subjects, the practitioners who are doing the practice, they are not being recognized. That's one. Two, we see within the second tier of the education sector, where we're talking about education officers, we're seeing senior education officers being pushed in a corner. I don't know if because it's because of the texture of their hair, and they're presumed to have been or to be coalition supporters. So they're pushed in a corner, and we're seeing a fresh breed of persons coming onto the education system, or the education into education as and here I'm telling you about assistant chief education officers and so on. They're being pushed in a corner. And we have very young teachers, very young teachers. Some of them are assistant masters and mistresses, which means that they graduated from college maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, but they are now seconded. So quite a lot of our teachers are seconded from their schools to the education departments, who have they don't have many of them don't have the kind of experience to supervise head teachers, but they're the ones coming to supervise head teachers, and they're creating a whole lot of confusion within the education sector. And one wonders whether we are looking at quantity or we are looking at quality. A little more than that, we have seen the entire program, the program at the Sarasota College of Education, it's in turmoil. We hear about the big fancy talks. The PPP, they always talk about numbers is their thing, and so they're gloating over how many teachers are going to be graduating from the Cyril Potter College. And I'm just going to use a wild number, let's say 2,500 teachers. But they are not gloating about the quality of teachers that they're going to be graduating from the Cyril Potter College. And this is of concern not only to the GTU, but it's also of concern to the residents, the citizens of this country, because it is our children who have got to interface with those teachers. Correct. In the classroom. What are your thoughts on that, and how you think you can use your position as a counselor to make some inroads to have that corrected?
Quality over quantity is always a perspective of where I will always lean to, right? Because we see how effective persons are, regardless. I prefer have 10 persons with me that are very efficient and effective than 1,000 persons with me who are simply just persons.
But let me just stop you for a minute. I am noticing a comment from one of our viewers here, and she is saying that teachers that sat CXC 4 times and get grade 4 in math, teaching math at a secondary school, that is what the PPP is encouraging. I mean, if this is true, Esther, I'll be happy if you can share with me when we get off of this program which secondary school that is, so I can go and do my own bit of investigation. And this is sad. If you have grade 4 at math and you're teaching math in school, then I don't know what you're really going to be teaching the children. If you can't get it right, I don't know how they're going to get it right. But I would want to do my own bit of investigation to find out whether this is true. But you know what? With the PPP, anything,
Anything.
anything.
And there's a rippling effect with that too as well, because the kids now too as well will not grasp exactly what is happening, and the parents who will come down and the kids to know what's really happening. So there is a rippling effect if by chance you're going to take numbers where quantity is over quality. Within our constituency, within my constituency, we only reached out to persons who we know are effective and efficient and have been doing the type of work that is necessary for substantial amount of years, right? And it's been very successful. That is what we simply do to simply just ensure that whatever we're trying to implement within our constituency, we have the best results. That is the simplest approach I can put it. I'm aware of what has been happening with new persons coming in within the educational sector and persons who are sidelined too as well. It is something that is, as I said, it's a form of disrespect, but it is the People Progressive Party that we're talking about, and anything that they embraces, you must find some type of issue with it. But most importantly, they miss what is required for true development to happen within Guyana. In other words, the People Progressive Party is unfit to govern. It's very simple, right? And members of society needs to recognize and understand that it is not only happening within the educational sector concept, it's happening within the medical field too as well. It's happening within certain entertainment industries, as happening within Guyana, because everything is holistic within our constituents. So we know exactly what is happening, where we hitting a ceiling, where because where we come from, certain grants wouldn't be given, certain listening ears not being put to the table. Youth culture and sports is right across the street from Tiger Bay. How much times we have to run inside there simply just to get an okay to implement a program or a project that is going to help develop members within our constituency. So this is not something that is happening yesterday, right? And we are feeling the squeeze. So it is about time we do what is necessary. Members within our constituency recognize and understand what are the games being played and what needs to be done come June 12th. And I would emphasize this, I will keep saying it over and over, that voting is an individual act. And it must be embraced that way. When you're within that polling station, it's you and God alone. And at that time, you need to reflect and recognize to see if by chance, handout of a particular contract, if it really changed the quality of your life. You know, if it impact members within your society, not just your family, but your friends and your loved ones too as well. And at that moment, do the appropriate thing to ensure that real transformation is a part of your community and to an extent your constituency. And I think we have that done pat. And we're engaging with members within society and see exactly how best we can holistically deal with certain situations and circumstances. But most importantly, the People Progressive Party has caused, they're helping us win this local government elections. I can be honest with you. Right? With certain decisions that they've been implementing and doing in society, they're helping us win.
Well, I'm happy that you're quite confident that they're helping you to win. But I just want our people, our viewers out there to understand, and especially those who are watching us from right here, and even those who are watching us from way across the seas, that you encourage your folks and you tell everybody it's time to come out and support our young people out here, our young men and women who are here vying for positions on the councils across this country. We want you to be able to support what is good, support what would lead to development for people across the board. We don't want to hear about what would happen for the people who live in Region 3, in certain parts in Region 3. We don't want to hear about what is good for certain people in Region 6 or in parts of Region 6. We are talking holistic development. And so, viewers, it's not too late. You still have your part to play. Talk to your nieces who are of age to vote. Talk to your brothers, talk to your sisters, talk to your husbands, talk to your wives. As a family, come out and vote on May 12th. And for those of you who are living in constituency 1, your candidate is right here. and this is the young man we expect you to vote for. We can only make a change if we see and we accept that things are needed to be changed and the manner with which we expect the changes to have happened. If we look at what is happening in Georgetown, I know during the 2015 to 2020, half of 2020, we saw people in Georgetown, all across Georgetown, living in comfort. I remember the former president, David Granger, coming out and starting the cleanup campaign himself, forgetting that he was elected president. And I know they had to quickly go and get bodyguards for him and so on, get the people to come out there and remind him that, hey, you're president. No, you can't come out like that. But this is what, this is from a person who understands how other people feel. And this is what I get from you here, Philip. You understand the needs of the people in your constituency. And so when you see people come around with a $5,000 and a red T-shirt, it sends a crazy signal off. And you want to know if this is what our people are worth, $5,000. I mean, $5,000 can't even buy you a proper tin of milk, a 5-pound tin of milk. So it is saying here that this government, their intention is to make people once again poor and to remain poor. That's what it's saying to us. Operative, you can zoom us in so that we can get the reactions from Philip. Again, let me say, the intentions of this government is to continue to make people poor, and those who are not yet poor to make them poor, and those who are poor to have them remain poor. That's the intention of this government. And so we have the whole picture of the plantation being brought back again in the 21st century, in 2023. And I'm hoping that our young men and our young women are, in particular, that they're listening. $5,000 might give you 2 or 3 sets of spliff. But after the high, you still have the reality to live with. And so after that, you still got to get some food to eat. After that, you still need employment. Right. So when they come to your communities, don't tell them, don't bring $5,000 to me. Don't bring $10,000. Get me a job. You see, we've learned over the years that it's better to teach a man to fish than to want to give them a fish every day. And this is what the PPP government, they enjoy doing this, giving you fishes, throwing fishes out there to you, whether they fish good, it's bad, it stink, it whatever, that's what they enjoy doing. But rather than giving you a hook and tell you, well, look, this hook, you need to get bait and you need to go to the trench and put the hook in there. And this is how you pull the hook when you see the fishes start. They don't have any intentions of doing that. And so, again, this is what plantation life is all about. Between 2015 to 2020, Guyanese people were breathing a fresh breath of air. We saw reduction in crime. We saw improvement in the health sector. We saw improvement in the education sector. In the public service, you saw a different approach when you entered certain ministries. Yes, but blackouts. Here again, of course, less blackouts, proper water. And it's amazing that just about 3 years, we have returned full swing to plenty blackouts, discolored water, all kinds of things coming through your taps. We've seen the return or the high increase in crimes. Look, a man just jump off the balcony of the court. Right. You know, and so it is saying to us that something is wrong. We've seen murders on the increase. We've seen drug transshipment on the increase. And so we have to understand that the PDP are no good for Guyana. And that's a message, that's a clear message we have to tell our people out there. The PPP are no good for Guyana. Could you imagine a judge ruled in the interest of the Guyanese people? And what are we having? What are we having? The government of the day appealing that decision. Now, I am hoping that our young people and our older folks are understanding what is happening. This is a judge ruling in the interest of our people to protect Guyanese. And you have a government who claim they love, but they're not interested in protecting our Guyanese.
That is for a very simple reason. And the reason is the People Progressive Party puts profit above people. that is very simple. I want to let members of society recognize and understand that if by chance the People Progressive Party really wanted to transform Georgetown to that extent, they had 23 years to get it done. What makes you think that they're going to get it done now? 23 years that they could have implemented certain strategies to ensure it works. And in less than 4.5, 5 years' time, when the APNO AFC took office, Georgetown was beautiful. And then here we are back to square one. Why? Because it's hard to kick behavior patterns. Characteristics are not something simple to change. So if the People Progressive Party has been so for over 2 decades, what makes you think their behavior patterns and characteristics would change nowadays? It doesn't work that way. They still have that stinking thinking and bright ideas, quote unquote, and they're been implementing that manipulative concept and using members of society in such a way, to benefit themselves and themselves only.
Well, what we have seen, we hear about the three F's, and I'm sure you know is the families, friends, and favorites. But what I'm happy that the court did deny the stay. The stay request was denied, whether temporarily or whatever. But that in itself is saying that whatever is in law, that the judge stood by it, and I want to congratulate the judge that he is not one of the judges that is being manipulated. He goes by the book. And if the book is saying this is black, then he goes there. If it is saying that this is green, then he goes there. Just like what a few magistrates would have done in terms of the cases that they have dismissed, and in terms of Annette winning that libel case and so on. And there are many more that we will see the judges operating the way they ought to. Because we've had lots and lots of charges being trumped up against people just because one of the things I must say is that the PPP, they can't deal with strong individuals. The minute they recognize that you're going to oppose them, and you have the kind of influence, they try to shut you down. And so while I'm saying that to you, let me branch off a little to say that last Tuesday, we had a picketing exercise outside of GCOM, just like we would have every Tuesday. And so on that picketing, on that picket line, we usually have, once there's a protest, there are chants. There are some ridiculous ones, there are some nice, simple ones, there are some catchy ones, but the message that is sent through the chants is what is intended to go out there. The message that is sent there is an intention for people who are affected, and those who are creating the effect. You're sending a message out there to tell them, clean up your act, get the business fixed. And so I would have learned via note messages coming from friends, that the vice president, I don't know since when the vice president, he seems to be the mouthpiece for everybody.
He's campaigning.
I wouldn't want to have a mouthpiece like that, because I heard critics describing him as something the other day. But I wouldn't want him to be my mouthpiece. And for those who know me, they know I don't play with what I have to say. But I find it very strange that a complaint was lodged against, maybe a letter was sent to the commissioner of police, something. I don't know the details of it, but I want to say people feel threatened by Coretta McDonald. And I want my viewers out here to know that I will always be Coretta McDonald. And I will always say what I have to say, regardless of who is sitting where. I will say what I have to say, because I am all about people. I am not here for self-glorification, gratification, whatever you want to call it. I am about the people. I'm about the ordinary people in this country. And if things are going wrong, then I'll say it. So on this protest line, you had songs being sung, graveside songs being sung, which sometimes bring the kind of entertainment that you want to have, when you're there with your placard, and your placard is saying what you want your placard to say. And instead of persons in authority, we have GCOM there, the commissioners and the chairman, and we have the government, rather than them adhering or listening to the people when you call for a clean voters list. We saw just the other day, coming out of the nominations, a whole lot of dead people. their names there, there's and signatures there representing them. The fact that Barajagio had to apologize to one family, it that there are many more families who we might very well have to apologize to, but I guess they ain't come to front, or they did it behind closed doors. But saw yesterday. Now you hear, operator, could you play the hymn there, that piece of the protest action for us while we're gonna share a little bit. The thing is, while you're going to have, while when you can acknowledge that one person, person Thanks. And so what happens is once you can have one person's name on that list who's dead, then it is saying that we can very well have thousands of persons on that list. And what we're having here is a replay of 2020, the 2020 elections. Now back to what happened on that protest line. There were chants, and of course the chants came, and I find it quite amazing that a learned judge would get carried away, and maybe she's being instigated to do what I heard that she would have done. Do we have the pictures there? I find it quite amazing because I know persons have been very careful in terms of how they call names and so on. And so if we have a person by the name of Claudette Swing in this country, I'd be happy to see that person. But I want our viewers to know that I fear nothing or nobody except God. And so if there's a police investigation going on, then it has to go on. It has got to go on. When they're finished doing their investigations, and if I seem to be a person of interest, then they know where to find me. They have numbers for me. They know where I live. They know that my name is Coretta McDonald and not Sue. So they know where to find me. Unlike Sue's boss, could we have Sue's boss? Unlike Sue's boss, who doesn't know where to find Sue, I am reachable. And so I would present myself if I'm called for any interview or I'm called to report anywhere. I will present myself because I have nothing to hide. And, this is what the PPP are good at. Telling themselves that they can intimidate people.
That is exactly what it is. It's a form of intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happening at this grander level. But I can tell you and I can share with you how it affects members of society, especially within my constituency, right? When kids in school, rather be in nursery school or primary school, and it's career day.
Operator, let's have the two photographs there. Let's have them on display there while we're going to talk in the background.
And it's career day. Kids would dress up where they want to be. Like some would be a fireman, a policeman, some would come dressed as politicians, etc. But in today's society, and this is all because of the intimidation tactics being implemented by the People Progressive Party, persons are even afraid to be a part of the political process, right? Because what the People Progressive Party did, they've implemented a concept, and it says like this: hey, it's rather you with me or against me. If you're against me, you're seen as an enemy, and you're treated as such. And this is very detrimental for society. So this type of intimidation tactics, this draconian political culture that the People Progressive Party has implemented, is affecting even youths who wants to be a part of a transformation process. So for members of society out there, for the youths that are listening, be a part of the political movement, be a part of politics, because politics simply means you're part of policy making. If situations and circumstances affect you, right, you have the democratic right to be a part of a process that when you implement situations or solutions, if not everybody, most members of society would benefit, right? That is what politics is supposed to be. So because it's been manipulative in a particular sense, the People Progressive Party has installed fear in hearts and minds of members of society. And this is one of their tactics that we really need to eradicate ASAP.
Yes, and so they're probably thinking that, if they attack Coretta McDonald, then our regular protesters out there would think, if they could attack the MP, they could attack me, so I ain't coming back out. But I want them to know that we are not easily intimidated. And all the tactics that they're employing or trying to employ, it would only make us even more resolved and resilient. And we'll be able to stand, we're going to stand out there, and we're going to continue to call for a clean voters list. We're going to continue to call for biometrics. We're going to continue to ask that they make it right. That's what we're going to ask for. And what I find amazing is the fact that there was a COI on the 2020 elections. And what was clear in one of the recommendations is that they got corrupt things happening right there, and GCOM got to fix it. That is what was clear. But you see, they're not bringing these things out to the public so that the public would know what is happening there and what were the recommendations. But I want them to know that GCOM is where the problem is at. Now, Claudette Singh couldn't fix the business of those lists and all those complaints that she got with all these people's names who were on the list that are dead, one. Secondly, persons who came out to say, I didn't put my name here, that's not my signature, let them take it off. With all of that happening, she still accepted. And I'm saying she here because she's in charge of. So they have accepted all of those lists, those bloated lists, those lists that are fraud. They have accepted them, and they're going to use that. If we don't continue to hold out, they will want to use those to conduct the elections, local government elections. We know that they are not serious about local government elections, because in 23 years of them sitting in government, how many local government elections we would have had. And so they have a track record of not really wanting to have elections. They don't like going to elections because they know that they're going to lose. And so they reform, the report in itself spoke about the reforming the structure of GCOM. And it says to us, as it stands, the structure of GCOM is, at its core, politicized, making it difficult for it to operate with any efficiency or effectiveness. And this is not what Coretta McDonald is saying. This is the people that you put there. And this is what they're saying. As it stands, the structure of GCOM is, at its core, politicized. So it means, therefore, that the people, many of the people who are operating there, they're operating based on political instructions. And that's their mandate. When the big boys call them, this is how we have to operate. And so GCOM, you got to fix it. That's your business, and you have to fix it. And so local government elections, and you and me, what does it mean to us? It means that we have to fix the system locally in our constituencies. If we want things to go right, then we here at this level have got to be able to fix it. And to fix it, what we have to do, Philip?
We have to build rapport.
We
need to build rapport with persons. We need to build rapport with various dimensions within constituencies, all 15 constituencies if we're looking here at Georgetown. What we need to as well is that if by chance that rapport is not built, if by chance there's not an objective within each constituency, what you'll find happening is that a lot of external work may be done, and persons will not see reason or even benefit to be a part of, or much less take care of the developmental process that is being implemented within society. So come the man. And I've seen something recently happening on social media where the People Progressive Party is using our youths as a campaign strategy visually on the social media platforms to recite false information about candidates of APNU. And I'm going to address the public, and I'm going to, for a moment, don't dot I's and cross T's and tell them, stop it. Stop it. Don't even try it. Because our youths, come on, man, you're supposed to see more potential in them to see how best they can be a part of a developmental process. But you're using them in a manipulative way too as well, to recite false information about the process that perhaps they're not even familiar with. And this is what PPP is holistically. So we need to be cognizant and conscious about what's happening in society, about the manipulative practices and some of the strategies of the People Progressive Party. And we need to stand firm as members of society and do what is right and do what is necessary come June 12th.
Well, I'm happy that you brought that one out, because just last night, I think it was, I saw one of my friends sent to me a clip that this damn deceitful, and I have to say this now,
Mhm.
this damn deceitful girl that they call Priya, she doesn't stop at anything. Coretta seemed to be a threat to all of them. So she doesn't stop at anything. So on Mother's Day, on the eve of Mother's Day, she did a post where she's talking about mothers who have gave natural birth, mothers who had C-sec, mothers who had the injection to assist them in with birth and so on. And then she has a caption there. Yeah, put up that same picture there, that same one we want to have. And she spoke about wishing them happy Mother's Day. And then she showed a clip of Coretta McDonald, where I was addressing that same one, where epidural, yes, and C-section mothers are full mothers too. Backward APNU. Now, the girl is so deceptive, and they try to think that they can deceive people. Now, when I was addressing that same issue, I know what to do with. When I was addressing that issue was 2 years ago, where Priya wanted the children to be returned to school when we had COVID. During the COVID pandemic, she wanted the children to be returned to school. And so I was joining there, like plenty other mothers, to say, our children are not going to be returned to school.
Right.
I felt pain to make my child or my children, and I will not send them there to die. But you see, they're good at doing what they like to do. So she just cut out the little piece there, and they put it in a cap there to show as if Coretta McDonald is discriminating against mothers. But people who know me know I don't have reasons to discriminate against any mother, regardless of how you got your child. Even if you adopt a child, the child is yours. I have no reasons to do that. So, Priya Manik Chand, you must know, when you're doing these kinds of foolishness, that you're going to be exposed. What she should have been putting there is the cuss out that she did to the ambassador
Just before.
when she was at his residence. That's what she should put out there. She don't put that out there. That's what she should put out there. When she got the title of Sitaira Gal, when she got the title of shouting for rape in parliament, those are the things she should put out there. But she wouldn't put that there because that's how deceptive they are. So when persons saw the thing, persons were saying, well, they had to be a genesis to this. Tell us what happened before and tell us what she said after. Don't give us this little piece. So people are wise and they understand your tricks, Priya. So don't come here with foolishness to people. Fix the education sector. Fix all those children who are hungry in school. Bring those children back to school who are out of school, where y'all run up the place and pull in children just to give them the cash grant, and you tell your people that people, oh, they're doing this and you're doing that and you care about people. Tell them the right things. Tell them how many children we have in school at this time. You tell them how many children came, collected the cash grant, and they are no longer in school. So don't come around me funny, Priya. Come straight. As a matter of fact, you have no clue what education means, because you see, sometimes that is why you tell them the whole story, you know. That is why you tell them the whole story sometimes. Like I saw one of our viewer there saying, Priya has a law degree. She doesn't have a degree in education, and her mother went to Sierra Porter College of Education. Well, her mother, I knew her back then, a very decent woman, and so I wouldn't want to even mention Priya alongside her mother. But this is saying, you know, persons understand there exactly what is happening. So, Auntie Priya, just don't come like a fool. When you're coming there, know your stuff. And it's because you don't know your stuff, that is why she mentioned in Parliament she's a preposition. It's because she don't know her stuff. You know, but I just want to say to us viewers, these people don't understand what they're about. What they know about is a whole lot of teeth, more teeth, plenty teeth. What they know about corruption, more corruption, and plenty more corruption. What they know about is fraud, plenty fraud, and more fraud. What they know about is stifling people. That's what the PPP know about. And in order for Guyana to grow, the PPP must go. Your closing remarks, my dear.
What I want persons to recognize and understand is that we are still conducting and we are being a part of this local government elections, but we are doing it under protest still. I mean, we protest every Tuesday because the list is still padded.
Yes.
And when we do certain, I won't go into details, but when we do certain groundwork, we've recognized and understand why we say the list is padded. Right? When you go house to house, when you go with that particular list, when you see exactly what is really happening, definitely there's a need for a clean voters list.
Yep.
So I want members of society to recognize and understand that. Most importantly, is that there is a type of transformation that is happening, and it's going to start at local government elections. So I want to encourage persons to come out on June 12th and do the appropriate thing, so that members of society could their situations and circumstances could be addressed, and a listening ear can be given to as well. So persons just rock and come out on June 12th and do what is necessary. And on behalf of Constituency 1, the type of work that we've been implemented, the type of diversity that is happening there too as well. Persons are well structured in their own world, but what we want is a cohesion, a very nice rapport between all communities within Constituency 1. So together we can find some type of commonality and execute, so that perhaps Constituency 1, we can see a lot of positive things coming out from it.
So Constituency 1, you have here the man for your constituency, Mr. Philip Drayton. Go out there on June 12th and put that tick right there next to his name. And don't forget, when you vote at the top, then you have to vote at the bottom too. So make sure you do both of them. And when this would have been completed, we can all work again, not only to make Georgetown a better place, but to make Guyana a better country for all of us. On that note, I want to say to you, good night. Thank you for watching us. And I know we're going to be here again next Wednesday for more on advancing the cause. And we'll talk a little more about what local government elections mean to us, means to me, you, and every one of us. And we're going to touch, of course, on the PPP and what they are about. We're going to tell you a little more about their deception. We're going to tell you more about how they have been lying to this nation. We're going to tell you plenty more about the contracts that are being awarded and who those contracts are given to. So until then, be good, stay safe, be careful with how you use the roads. And remember, fraud is fraud. We need a clean voters list. And for Guyana to grow, the PPP must go. Goodbye, and may God continue to bless you. Operator, before we go, could you put our 4 characters we have, could you put them up on the screen so that our viewers can see them? Well, these 2 and the other, we have 2 more, Auntie Priya and Uncle Joe. Let's put them up there so that our viewers can watch them. And let me remind you, when they come to your communities, we need to take Annette off from there. She's not one. You need to put Auntie Priya up there. When they come to your communities, if they can't come to you with substantive issues and not promises this time, if they can't bring relief to your community, then we don't want them. We recognize that during the coalition time, we hadn't the kind of flooding in Guyana, but as soon as they would have returned, flooding all over. You see how many streets in Georgetown are being flooded? You see how many streets all over the place are being flooded? So the PPP must go. They have to go, and we will ensure that they go. Outside of that, very quickly, let me say to us, we have Miss Chevon Green, the young lady from Mucka whose house was destroyed and her entire business was destroyed. She's having this barbecue, and we expect you to, those of you who live around the Mucka area or within the environs of Mucka, that you go out there and support her barbecue. I remember saying that to you last week. And this young lady, she has to fight for survival again to build what the PPP would have broken down. She has to go there all over again to build. So we're going to support her again. I'm going to give you the date for that barbecue. I can't remember the date right now, but we're going to give you the date for that barbecue, and we expect that you go out there and support her. Operator, could we have our they have our guests, not our guests, have our characters there before we go quickly? Yes, we want to have Chevron. I can't remember the date for Chevron's barbecue. I know it's sometime next month, but I can't remember the date for the barbecue. But of course, Chevron is the young lady who we saw in the handcuff in the mud. Yes, that very good young lady there. She's having a barbecue because she needs to start rebuilding not only her home, but she needs to start rebuilding herself. She needs to have finances, and this is what the PPP do all the time. They don't like to see you move to another level. They don't like people who they can't control, and so once they can't have their way with you, then they seek to do whatever it means or whatever is necessary to destroy you. But I can tell you that as a people, we will continue to stand strong. Philip, I know that I asked you for your closing remarks, but while our operator is trying to get our characters there, I don't know if there's anything else that you would want to share.
I just want persons within constituency one to recognize that regardless of the type of resource that is present here, they said don't give oil to oily hands, right? But regardless of the type of resource that is present, the most important resource in constituency one is its people. And in order for true development to actually happen, as I mentioned at the genesis of this discussion, we need to have some type of human capacity development happening simultaneously with economic growth. So I just want to urge persons to simply just come out, take a look and see exactly what is happening within various communities. And come June 12th, to simply just walk into that polling station and do what is necessary for real transformation, but most importantly, to elect a particular leadership that will actually will be a person for you, that will come and see exactly what are the situations and circumstances that is plaguing your community and do what is necessary to ensure that it's being rectified. So this is the nucleus of the movement within constituency one. So I simply just want persons to recognize and understand that this is happening now, and the importance of local government elections, and simply just do what is right. And doing what is right simply means voting for the APNU. It's very simple.
Yes. So I know that we've been here with you. I just learned that my brother and my colleague Sherrod Duncan would have no show tonight, and so we might go a little just about a 5 or 10 minutes more. But viewers, I want you to understand that this fight is no easy fight. It is no easy fight. And we don't have to have monies to beat the PPP. All we have to do is to have a mind of our own. All we have to do is to remember what they would have done to us. You see, they walk about our communities and they go into East from Velton, Tiger Bay, and All Boys Town and Rasville, and they're forgetting that it is those very communities that they went into during their 23 years of power, and they slaughtered our brothers. They slaughtered our fathers. They slaughtered our husbands. They slaughtered our child fathers. These people who are coming now to tell you that they care. 3 years would have passed since they returned to government. They didn't care for you them during that time. But now for local government elections, they're coming to walk about your communities. Why are you coming to walk now? What happened all the time? You couldn't walk then? And so when they come to our communities, those are the things we must say to them. Fix it now. Don't tell me what you're going to do tomorrow. Fix it today. Bring the kinds of machinery we need. Fix it today. And I want to say to you too, you see all these road projects that they're doing there, all of those projects that are now being implemented, they came out of a proposal that Stanley Ming had submitted a couple of years ago. All of these road projects. So don't let them come to you and tell you that these projects are their projects. All of the projects that they're implementing now are projects that were prepared by the coalition. And when they were in opposition, when we had Mr. Stanley Ming there, yes, he had a whole lot of proposals. All these roundabouts and so on that we're having, these are proposals and plans that were already entrained by the coalition. So all we having the PPP doing, they're copying. They're copying and pasting, and you notice some of it they can't fix it because when you copy and paste, you don't get it right. And so they are about fraud. That's all they know about. They like to bring fraud and paint it in such a glorious picture and make it look good as if it's theirs. You remember the guy with the 19 fraud charges? You remember the other guy who skipped the coup, went away to where you call the place name, who went to Esquib or something like, not Esquib, who went away to India and so on. They know how to commit their frauds and then they disappear. But we want you to understand that fraud can never be anything else but fraud. Corruption could never be anything else but corruption. And I want you to know too that in all of this, you are nowhere close to their minds and to their hearts. It's all about the little group. And if you check it for yourself, you're going to see in every area where we have development happening, check to see who are the persons that would have gotten those contracts. You check to see who are the people who were awarded those contracts.
They're not even
So
contractors.
well, you're right. Some of them are not even contractors. But I don't know, maybe operator is not getting the information that we want to get. And so if that is not so, depending on how many you get, we'll just ask our viewers, 682 viewers, and the persons who share this program, continue to share the program. We're going to ask you to pray for these individuals. Just pray for them. Just pray and ask that there be a change of everything, every single thing for these persons, and that their hearts be tuned to the people of Guyana, so that they can respect the people of Guyana when they conduct their activities, that Guyanese are going to be first and the foremost. You know, I know some of them who got house in, what the castle name somewhere up, so? Windsor Castle and so on. I know some of the monies from some of the ministries going to some of them homes that they bought there. Some people had land, they had house in Pradoville 1. They're going to get house in Pradoville 2. Now they got house in Windsor Castle. And they're not talking about where they got these monies from. But when Annette Ferguson had she piece of land, they make a whole lot of noise. She got a mansion and she got this and she got that. But we can find out about the sale of those places and how much they get it for. But viewers, let's continue to pray for Guyana. Let's continue to pray for our young people who have the interest of Guyanese people at heart. And let's go out there on June 12th and let's vote for them resoundingly. Take care. We have to leave you now. Goodbye. See you again next week for more on Advancing the Cause. Philip, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.